While I was having a bit of a break over August, I quickly found myself falling down the YouTube rabbit hole of side hustles. And it really took me back to where I began, certainly, where even though after the last couple of years or so, I've been focusing on the 6 figures, the 7 figures, even the 8 figures, both for myself and my clients. But I was really reminded how, for so many of us, just that first $1,000 a month extra is really valuable. And certainly with a difficult economy at the moment, that extra $1,000 a month becomes not just desirable, but for many people is absolutely crucial. But as I was going through all of these videos on side hustle ideas, some of whom were doing a really good job of taking these ideas and testing them and proving them, or in many cases disproving them, I became very aware of some key trends which I think are a major issue with a lot of these side hustle ideas. And I'm not saying this to criticize any spokesperson or any side hustle in particular, but it definitely reminded me a lot of the errors I made when I was very early on in my business. And I think the fundamental point here is that while you may think you only want to make an extra $1,000 per month, you'll quickly find that your goals shift very quickly. And actually, you could make that $1,000 a month very quickly in just a short amount of time. It might seem a real challenge now, but once you have the right knowledge, it actually becomes much simpler. And what the mistake I've made before, certainly, is focusing on goals that are simply too small. And then when you get there, you don't have the ability to actually take that existing business idea and take it to the next level. So the key point I want to get across in this video is basically to think big and start with the end in mind. Because certainly from my learning and many other entrepreneurs, you'll probably find you're actually much better off building a proper business, which doesn't need to be as difficult as it sounds, rather than going 3 sides around a square to make an extra couple of thousand a month, and then find you basically created a job for yourself. Now, TLDR, you're probably thinking, that's great, Stuart, but I don't have a ton of business ideas. I'm not going to be able to create the next Apple. And the fact is, you just don't need to. And this is what I wish I'd learned much sooner. To start a profitable side hustle that actually makes you rich, I recommend starting a service business serving businesses. So when I started out, I was going down the route of affiliate marketing with SEO, and I always had this sense of imposter syndrome that I don't have the skills to be a professional SEO and start an agency. However, after doing that affiliate marketing, all the time trying to get websites up to a few $1,000s a month, as soon as I started the agency, I was finding I was getting immediate cash flow, $2,000, $3,000 a month from a client. And most of these clients, because they were actual businesses, they actually took very little work to get them ranking. So all that time, rather than building all these websites trying to sell fish tanks or beard products, all those classic affiliate dropshipping style products, all along I could have just gone to an actual business and given them 20% of my knowledge and made the same amount of money, and they would have made a really good return on that. Now you might be thinking SEO is a bit technical, a bit commodified, it's too crowded, and to an extent I agree. I don't think it is the perfect side hustle for a lot of people. But there are plenty of services you can be selling to businesses today, and you can master them within a couple of weeks. Because the fact is, that's your value add. You are saving the busy entrepreneur, the busy business owner, from having to sort out all these buggy details that's going to take you a couple of weeks to really master. So if you click the link below, I've prepared a list of 100 profitable side hustle ideas for actual service businesses, serving businesses, that you can start absolutely this week. And I guarantee you that other people in those niches are easily making $5,000 per month that way. And there are so many advantages to this model that we'll go on to later on in the video. But the fact is, you don't really incur much cost until you get a client, and then you do the work. You have high recurring revenue a lot of the time. If you can form that trusted relationship with a client and you can actually get the results, then chances are that client is going to stick around for a long time. And these services can be pre-sold. So you could literally test out several of them until you get a client, and only then do you actually incur the cost. And then we get on to the scalability. What you're doing is things that can be done on a laptop, that can be turned into a simple process document, and then you can hire and train staff to carry out that process on repeat. Maybe you feel like you can't afford to hire staff. Maybe if you're in a major city, then that's true. There's plenty of people in rural locations, or indeed across the world, who are very keen to have a flexible work from home job. And if you start a business in one of these profitable industries, I guarantee you will be able to hire that kind of talent. So from there, it's perfectly feasible that you could be making 5 to 10 grand a month and not even that heavily involved in day-to-day operations. As the classic adage goes, you want to be the business owner, not the business manager. After all, the reason most of us want that bit of extra cash is for more freedom and choices in our lifestyle. So ultimately, not only making more money, but freeing up your time is a crucial part of it. Now, you might well be thinking, I can't start a business, I don't have any skills, this all sounds like too much. Well, the fact is, given the choice between this or getting up early to go to a garage sale to then fill my car up with stuff to flog on eBay, or some of the TikTok videos I get about retail arbitrage where you go to Walmart and clear out the sale shelf to then list it on Amazon, all of these require investing in stock that you don't even know is going to sell. It takes a lot of your time, and then ultimately when you do finally sell, you're only making a couple of dollars here and there. Whereas if you started a service for businesses, then you could literally stay at home on your laptop. You don't need to invest anything. You can get started for free because you can email businesses, you can get on YouTube, you can record little Loom videos introducing yourself and then send those over. And it might well take you a couple of weeks to get a client, but that client could easily be worth $2,000 per month. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Why would you go after these small opportunities to make $10 when there's a much bigger opportunity here that offers far more reward and far more flexibility? And what's more, much lower downside risk when you get started. So click the link below, download the 100 ideas today to get started, but keep watching this video because I've got some great steps you can implement today that are going to get you to six figures far sooner. So I really do understand where a lot of you are coming from. I was there a few years ago, frustrated in my day job. Most day jobs, of course, don't pay that much, whereas if you can just make a couple of thousand a month online, you could potentially replace that day job, or you just have a much higher income overall. Now, I've mentioned already that really you want to look at building a proper business rather than just a side hustle. Now, when I'm looking at this side hustle content, it tends to be things like flipping phones, flipping cars, using Facebook Marketplace to pick up free items of furniture and then selling those, filling in online surveys, mystery shopping, lots of these little arbitrage opportunities where you can pick up an extra couple of dollars here and there. Whereas what I really want to focus on with this video is about systems that scale. And we'll come on to that shortly. It might seem a bit scary, and you're probably thinking right now, but I just want to make a little extra easy money. You've still got maybe a busy day job, you just want a couple of extra $100 a month, and you can do that if you're going around Facebook Marketplace, picking up phones, picking up furniture. But I think if you took that same amount of time and effort, then you can actually build something much bigger. Now, you might find that's a little off-putting, you might think the idea of staff and systems is scary, but the fact is, I think if you did that easy side hustle, yes, you could make an extra couple of $1,000s a month, but you're probably only going to make a couple of extra $1,000s a month, and you're going to be really tied down into it. You're going to be spending a lot of hours, a lot of time, and a lot of your energy on maintaining that. Whereas if you just went a step further to building scalable systems, as in a proper business, then the payoff could be life-changing. You could literally be making millions. And I'll explain in this video how I'd suggest you do that. So the real question I think you've got to ask yourself when setting out on any side hustle is, are you creating a low-paid job for yourself? Most of these side hustles I see are just about spending a few extra hours a week. So whether you've got a day job or not, it's basically going through marketplaces, traveling around, visiting people, whether getting rid of furniture, getting rid of phones, and then finding other people to sell those to, or even things like going door to door offering lawn mowing services, things like that, or window cleaning. So these are all perfectly valid and will make you good money on the side. But the chances are you're creating a low-paid job for yourself. Whereas the only real difference between that and running a business is that as a business owner, you're more responsible for hiring and systems. So you want to create low-paid jobs for other people, where basically you can get other people to do the work for you and get an honest wage for it, and then you can take a margin on top of that. And that's exactly how all business operates. It's just arbitrage. So rather than you going door to door offering lawnmower services, how can you build that in such a way that you can reliably generate leads for lawnmower services and hire a few lawnmower staff for yourself, and then you just run the operation? So it's not you having to go door to door all the time, because realistically, you can only knock on one door at a time. And as part of this, you really want to think about customer lifetime value. And this is one of the mistakes I see even quite big established businesses making. They'll have a product that they sell, and they'll only sell it once, and it might not even be that expensive. So the lifetime value of that client might only be $20 to $50 or so. Whereas the real opportunities to thrive in business and get rich, you want to find the opportunities where your customer lifetime value is really big. Ideally, some sort of recurring revenue, but even if you don't have that recurring revenue, can you get a big upfront payment just on that one-off? So if we take the lawn mowing example, yes, your initial lawnmower sale might not be that much, but of course, if they keep coming back to you, then over time, you could actually grow a significant income from that one client. Whereas if you're flipping phones, you got to work to actually find the phone in the first place and then work to sell it. And then that person's got their phone. So it's quite unlikely they're going to keep coming back to you time and again, versus window cleaning, where of course you could be coming back every week potentially. And so that customer lifetime value ends up very high. And in particular, you want to try and solve real pain points. Now we'll come on to this later, but if you just take the example of B2B services, so businesses that serve other businesses. If you take an example like accountancy, well, every business needs an accountant. You can do it yourself, but it's going to take you hours and you're going to get stuck and you're probably going to make mistakes. Whereas if you've got a business that's making money, the chances are to pay a few $100s a month to an accounting firm to get that all sorted for you is a no-brainer sale. So if you compare that with going door to door, knocking, selling lawn mowing services, then that's kind of discretionary. People might choose to do it themselves, or they might just not value lawn mowing. They might just leave the grass to grow. Maybe they've got a gardener who already does the whole garden. Maybe they even enjoy mowing their own lawn. Whereas when you get into these real pain points for businesses, something like accountancy, insurance, you get into these niches where no one wants to do it, but they absolutely have to do it. And therefore, if you're a service that offers to fix that problem for a couple of $100s, suddenly that's a no-brainer sale with lots of profit. Now, another problem I often see in the sort of side hustle market is, are you taking advantage of a unique window opportunity? Is it a bit hacky? Are you relying on a certain set of market conditions? Because the problem with these is generally they won't last for long. So you might have found some loophole and you can exploit that loophole, but how long is it going to be before that loophole closes up? So on my channel, I talk about a lot of churn and burn strategies, and I don't have anything against churn and burn as long as you acknowledge that risk that comes with it. So you often see case studies of people saying they're making 20k, 30k a month doing this exact process that works right now, but you might find a year later they're completely broke. Now, what I've really noticed in both my own business and other businesses, getting up to that 20, 30, 40k a month is fantastic, but how long are they really sustaining it? Because when you try and put it in actual salary terms, how much are you paying yourself as a salary? Well, you might have made 50k for 2 months and then it dropped right down again, in which case the end result of that year, you might as well have just made 10k a month all year rather than 50k for 2 months. Earlier this year, I shared a popular case study where I was using Reddit through affiliate marketing, where I was posting affiliate links on Reddit in order to make affiliate commissions. And at one point, that was looking incredibly good. So I made around $2,500 in February, and that carried on to an extent. And even today, I'm still doing around $400 or $500 a month from that through the recurring affiliate commissions. But even then, as a whole, I've only made $8,000 from it. So that was good, and I don't have any regrets about that. I didn't put too much into it. But in terms of my bigger financial goals, I would much rather make 10 to 20k a month consistently rather than have this big spike that then fails to work and fails to scale. So when you're looking at these side hustles, really try and think, what could I still be doing in 2 to 3 years' time? When I look at really wealthy older people, whether it's a networking event, something like that, and you realize these people aren't the smartest people in the world, they're not the highest earners, but when you just look at the time factor and compounding, it really starts to make sense. If you imagine a sort of accomplished 55-year-old, then let's suppose they've been making a consistent salary for 30 years, and ideally investing in that time as well. Suddenly, a net worth that's in the multiple millions is perfectly attainable. So whatever you do, you want to try and stay in the market for a long time. Now, going back to that idea about being an owner and hiring people and actually valuing your time rather than just giving yourself a low-paid job. I always believe that if it's just you, then you want to make sure you're giving yourself a proper CEO salary. So we're talking 6 figures and above. Now, this doesn't have to be for everyone. If you do just want to make that $1,000 a month and keep doing that, then that's fine. This isn't for you. But if you do want to take that next step and start trying to get other people involved to take over a lot of the grunt work for you, then I really encourage you to start thinking about an aspirational hourly rate, where if you think about most consultants, they're charging hundreds of dollars per hour. So if you're there running a business where you've got to sort the marketing and lead generation and the fulfillment and try and actually take some money back for yourself, then of course you deserve to have a good salary as that result. Now, this is important down the line because most people see businesses as an asset. They want to exit and sell at some point. Well, one major reason that businesses fail to sell is the owners haven't been paying themselves a proper salary. So yes, there are tax advantages to that if you just pay yourself the minimum in most countries. However, quite often it's encouraged that you should pay yourself the full amount, because what are you fulfilling as a role within that business so that when that business sells, that business can carry on? the chances are if you've been acting as CEO doing all these little high-level responsibilities, then when that new owner takes over and you've left the business, they need to replace you with either one person with all those skills or multiple people with specialisms in each of those skills. So for that reason, you're probably undervaluing yourself in your own wage as a business owner. So you really need to pay yourself six figures. You'll be more motivated as a result, but also it will give your business more of a true sense of the numbers of what's going on. Because if you're performing a CEO director role and yet you're paying yourself a tiny salary, then that's not really working for you. And it's not really going to work for an investor either. So when you're looking at these side hustles, make sure you really look at the hourly rate that's involved. So I've seen some of these tests where people spend 6 hours to make $50 from flipping phones or mystery shopping or completing online surveys. Now, that's great if you've already maxed out your hours at work and you just need to make a couple of $100s a month just to make ends meet. But generally, if we're talking about true sustainable cash flow, then you really want to aim for more than that, because 6 hours to make $50 on something like this, you might as well just go to your boss and ask for some extra hours or even get a second job on the side. If you're doing it for yourself, you need to be aiming much higher. And therefore, when you're choosing your sort of business model for this new project, really see if you can work out how you can pay yourself a proper rate for it. Now, the chances are when you're starting off with one of these businesses, you're going to be on your own, and that's absolutely fine. But again, start with the end in mind. How can you see other members of staff potentially joining this? And again, that really brings us back to the financials, where not only do you need your six-figure salary as a business owner, but the chances are as soon as you get an employee on board, then of course they're going to need their own proper salary and benefits. So it was actually a colleague who gave me this concept that as soon as you have one member of staff, you really need to be aiming for seven figures in your business because you've got two proper salaries to fulfill. Yes, you can outsource abroad, but generally speaking, skilled people to actually help your business thrive, they're going to be $3,000 a month, and you need to budget for that. So if you're doing a task where you're not able to make that money on the front end in order to pay yourself and a member of staff a proper rate, then the chances are it's not the best business to run. Now, I touched on this earlier, but one of the secrets there when you're thinking, okay, that's fine, I need to make all this money, but actually tell me how, really the answer is B2B. Especially if you're on your own, you're a small business. Like I gave with the accountancy example, you are much better off selling to businesses that are already making money and they've got all these little problems to solve. And if you can solve just one of those problems, then the chances are you can charge thousands a month for it and do that multiple times for different businesses. Whereas if you had this little side hustle idea of making candles or soap and selling those to the consumer, it's much harder. Remember that customer lifetime value. The chances are you're going to sell that soap or candle $20, something like that, and it's going to be work to actually sell it. You're going to have to turn up to that craft fair, pay for the stall, and then you've got to be on the stall actually selling to people. And then at the end of the day, you might have made a couple of $100s. Whereas with these kinds of B2B services where you're fixing problems for businesses, as soon as you've done that for one business, you can then email another business and another one saying, here's how we fix this, we can do it for you too, and steadily build up these case studies. And even if you're just starting at $500 a month to fulfill this service, it could be really simple, like graphic design, copywriting, something like that. Then hopefully you can really see how this can scale to 10 grand a month quite easily. And I would say actually much more easily than making candles, selling soap, or flipping phones. So yeah, when you're flipping phones, chances are you're dealing with bargain hunters who just want to save $50. And therefore the maximum payoff you're getting for your work is going to be that $50. Versus an established business that's doing really well, you could just go in and help them with ChatGPT or a particular software product. Where if they're a business that's doing $50,000 a month and you can solve this one problem for them that saves them $5,000 a month, then of course you can charge them $500 a month very easily. So again, you might be thinking, okay, this is all great, but I'm overwhelmed. How do I actually get started? What is the cheat code? How do I keep this simple? Basically, I think of all your local mum and pop shop businesses where the website's 20 years old. And the chances are they're going to have so much that could be done for them. Like custom GPTs. This is a new field that no one fully understands yet. SMS and WhatsApp marketing. No one is actually doing this. Some businesses will email their customers. Very few are actually using MSS and WhatsApp automation that gets more engagement. Consumers prefer it. It's just generally a lot more dynamic. Virtual assistant services. These are great. So a lot of us internet marketers know the value of hiring from abroad and training someone. But a lot of local businesses haven't even touched on that. So the idea of hiring someone, they're immediately thinking someone local, someone expensive, and they're going to be $3,000 a month, something like that. Whereas you can basically go out and find good virtual assistants for, say, $800 a month, train them in a specific task, especially going back to some of these ideas. And that could be bookkeeping, accountancy, email marketing, automation, something like that, and then place them with a local business for $1,500 a month. Then everyone wins. That business is getting a specialist that you've trained without having to pay someone local who is expensive and doesn't have the same skill set. I've seen a lot of people doing very well with Zapier and Make.com integrations. So if you've got a business where they have actually invested in software and tools, but it's all over the place, if you can integrate that and use some AI automations to make that all much more seamless, make everything talk to each other better, then I've seen some service businesses springing up out of nowhere that are doing really well with that model. In my case personally, I know there's various tools that don't quite work together. I know that I can make them work together using these tools, but I'm going to have to spend time and energy to try and learn how to do that. So if you contact enough businesses with that problem, plenty of them are going to come back and say, here's $500, you fix it for me. At this point, you might be terrified, saying, I've got none of these skills, I'm not good enough for this. The fact is there's so much information out there on the internet, especially on YouTube. If you really committed, you could learn really quickly. And it's one of these things, like I say, that business owner could learn it themselves, but they would have to watch the weeks of YouTube videos in order to learn it, or take that $200 course. Whereas if you can just spend a few weeks committing to this particular skill set, get really good at it, then you're going to be 10 times better than that business owner could be. And you can offer it right now for $500 to $1,000 instead of them having to go down this rabbit hole and lose all that time that would be better spent in their business. And like I say, this bit's crucial. Once you've done it for one client, you've got something that's scalable there. Hopefully you're just doing it on your laptop. Hopefully you can start looking at getting virtual assistants to help you with the work. But once you've got that process that's working well for one client, you can then scale that out for multiple clients. Now what you basically want to aim for here is basically pricing leverage, where not only are you really good at it, so that's an efficiency because it's faster for them to use and cheaper for them to use you rather than learning how to do something themselves. You're hopefully training staff who can do it as well for the same thing. But the chances are you're probably going to end up using a lot of tools and resources as well, where you might have the agency plan for that particular software product. So you could easily be spending $1,000 a month just on tools. I know I certainly do. And you know how to use them well. Whereas a lot of these business owners, if they just wanted to try and get into this particular solution you provide, they wouldn't know how to use it and they'd have to buy all the software as well. So if you can come in with a well-priced offer where you provide the software and the expertise of how to use it for less than it would cost them just to set up on themselves, then of course you've got a gold mine. That's a real cash machine. Now, as you've probably seen, to help you get started, I put together a list of 100 service business ideas specifically for business-to-business markets, because we know that's where the money is. So I'll leave a link below. And every one of these uses a lot of the principles I've been talking about in this video. So how you can solve these problems for businesses that are already doing well, you can cold pitch them. So you can do all this from home on your laptop. You don't have to worry about inventory. You don't have to worry about getting around, like getting around and traveling around if you're flipping furniture. You can do all this at home on your laptop. Just master a simple skill, build processes around it, and then pitch it out to businesses. It really is that simple. And you'll probably find that through doing that, you can get to 5K, 10K a month far easier than you could to just get to 1 or 2K through a lot of these traditional side hustle ideas. So I'll leave the link below for this, but just sign up on this page and you will get direct immediate access to these 100 profitable, scalable service businesses to start in 2024 that I think will put you in a great state to get rich in 2025.